Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the My Name book tag. I first saw this on Amanda's channel, Book Lover Amanda, and so I'll tag her below, and I'll also tag the original creator of the tag if I can find that as well. But this is basically, you just take the letters of your name and you recommend a book with the title, with the same title as that letter in your name. So let's get right into it. Okay, so obviously my name is Whitney. So for W, I have chosen Welcome to the Hunan Dong Bookshop. And I read this last year. I read this in one sitting. Granted, I was sitting in my car all day at a volleyball camp for my daughter, so I really had nothing else to do. However, it was so cozy and so comforting, and I loved it so much. So this just follows a young lady in Korea who is, she's burnt out on her life. She doesn't like her job. She doesn't like her husband. She just doesn't like the rat race that she's found herself in. So she abandons it all. She quits her job, she gets a divorce, and she opens up a bookshop. And so this was just a look at her life and how she threw everything that conventional society tells us that we want out the window and really searched for what she wanted, and that was a bookshop. And it was just so cozy and so lovely. And I remember, which this is a year ago now almost that I read this, but I remember every time that it mentioned a book, I wrote down the name of the book because I thought I want to read these books. And of course that was a year ago. Lost the paper. Have not thought a thing about it since, but that's okay. It was still a great book and I recommend it. Oh, sorry. One thing that I want to add, I decided to make this tag a little bit more difficult for myself in that I had to choose books that I've read, obviously, that I own, that are on my shelves. So it was a little difficult. I had thoughts in my brain, and then when I went to my shelf, I couldn't find them, so I had to pivot. But anyway, that's just a little side note, sorry. Okay, moving on to H, I chose Howl's Moving Castle. I love this book. I also love the movie. They're two completely different things, and you have to know that going in, or I think you'd be disappointed in either one that you consumed second, but they're both wonderful. Anyway, this is about Sophie, and she gets cursed by the, what is it, the Witch of the Waste. And so she has to find Hal, who lives on this castle, who it moves around the area, and she has to kind of face the Witch of the Waste to get herself unspelled. But it is just so whimsical and fun and cozy, and it is just such a wonderful book, and I really enjoyed this one as well. All right, next up is I, and I chose The Importance of Being Earnest, and this was such a fun play. It's basically a situation of mistaken identity, and things happen, and I think it's just 2 acts, if I remember correctly. So it's extremely short, but it was so funny. There were so many just funny little moments, and I found myself laughing out loud quite often when I read it. So I would recommend this short play if you're looking for a laugh. All right, T for me was Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy, and this is a tragic book, completely opposite of The Importance of Being Earnest, but this follows Tess, and she has a hard life, and her family finds out that they're related to these aristocratic people, and so they send her to claim part of their fortune for them from these people, and things happen. It doesn't go as planned. Tragedy unfolds, and it's just a really good look at how society viewed men and women and the hypocrisies that they had. Like, they gave men a lot more leniency back in the day than women, and it was just a double standard, and this really paints that picture very well. I love Thomas Hardy. His writing is great, and this one was no exception. It was wonderful. Okay, next up is In, and I chose A Natural History of Dragons for this one. This was so much fun to read. It features Isabella, Lady Trent. These are her memoirs, and so she's writing as an older woman, and she starts at the beginning of her life and how she was very interested in dragons from a young age and science, and those things are looked down upon in her society for a woman to do. And she just tells the story of her love of dragons and where it took her from a young age all the way into adulthood. This is the first of 5 books, and they were all great. I loved them all. But this is kind of like Jane Austen with dragons, is how I've heard it described, and I would say that's fairly accurate. It's really well written. The world is very immersive. It's just her antics that she gets into with the dragons are sometimes comical, sometimes tragic, but it's a really great read. Okay, for E, I picked Ethan Frome by Edith Wharton, and I read this several years ago for the second time. I read it, I think, in high school for the first time. But it's just a very small book, but the writing is superb. The storyline, it's in a New England winter, and so it's perfect to read in the winter. The characters in here are not really likable. They make a lot of bad decisions. They do a lot of things that are not great, and the ending is tragic, but I still adore it. So if that sounds appealing to you, there you go. But I really enjoy Ethan Frome. Okay, and Y. We are at the end of my name. And for this one, I chose Young Fu of the Upper Yangtze River. I mean, it's not river, but you know, in China. Anyway, this was one that I had to pivot on. I really wanted to choose a different one, and then I could not find it on my bookshelf. So I saw this on my middle grade shelf, and I pivoted. So this I read aloud to my children several years ago, and it follows Young Fu. He's 13, and he's grown up in rural China, and they moved to the city. And so it follows him and his mom as they're in the city, and he is fascinated with city life because it's something that he's not familiar with at all. And I just remember reading it, and me and the 2 kids that I read it to. Actually, did I read it to Faith as well? I don't know. I may have read it to 3 of them at the same time. Anyway, we all enjoyed it. It was a great book, and it's a Newbery Medal winner, which is a plus. Some of them are not great, obviously, but you know, I feel like the older ones have more merit than maybe the new ones do. But anyway, so this is my last pick for the My Name book tag. Okay, so that's it. Those are all of the books that I chose for the My Name book tag. At the beginning I thought I might do my last name too, but then I was like, you know what? This is enough. This is enough. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to hear in the comments, have you read these? Do you like these? What would your name suggestions be for your name? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.